A beloved franchise on a path to irrelevance if it can't adapt and survive. Superhero mutants hated and feared by the very society they risk their lives to protect. Reinvented for a new generation that can relate to the feeling of being social outcasts, but not the decades of lore and adulthood that come with it. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of X-Men Evolution. Thank you to Bright Sellers for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below to get your first 6-bottle subscription box for just $55. It's that time of year again when the days are short and it's cold outside, winter. And all you want to do is stay inside and watch movies, read books, or play video games. Heaven. Bright Sellers can help make those cold days and nights a little cozier. They'll help you find the right wine to pair with a hearty meal, a visit from friends, or 3 seasons of unsolved true crime mysteries. Bright Sellers gets better as it goes, honing your subscription to your personal taste, whether that's trying to find the ideal red to pair with your steak or guide you on your journey into wines from around the world with profiles you never would have considered. Start things off with a quick 7-question quiz that matches you to the flavors you'll like best. Over 100 varieties sourced from nearly a dozen countries delivered to your front door. And look, I know this sounds crazy, but if you don't drink wine or if you're just taking a break because you drink too much wine, Bright Sellers also has non-alcoholic options. Bright Sellers is giving our viewers a special offer. Get your first 6-bottle subscription box, normally over $150 value, for just $55. Click the link in the description to take the quiz and get started. And thanks again to Bright Sellers. X-Men Evolution is an animated series that originally ran 52 episodes over 4 seasons from November of 2000 to October of 2003, a complete reinvention of the brand that helped keep it top of mind, engage new fans between the first 2 feature films X-Men in 2000 and X2 X-Men United in 2003. Professor Charles Xavier has established a school for gifted youngsters. In this case, gifted means mutant, and mutant means possessing superpowers that, if improperly handled, could be dangerous for everyone, including the person with the powers. Xavier's school is not only a safe space for mutants, it's a way to help them learn how to safely use their powers and, if necessary, train to one day be a part of the X-Men, a team of covert operatives who fight back against evil mutants and also happen to be students and teachers at Xavier's school. But those kids still need to get an actual education somewhere, and so they also attend Bayville High School, doing their best to hide their real identities, keep an eye out for dangerous mutants, graduate, and live as normal a life as they can with the hand they've been dealt by fate, destiny, and evolution. The X-Men debuted in the pages of Marvel Comics in 1963, a team of 5 students at Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Iceman, and Angel split their time between dealing with all the normal stuff that teens have to deal with, and also saving the world from evil mutants. X-Men also introduced readers to the term mutant as a means for superheroes to have powers, quicker and easier than a convoluted backstory or science accident, more realistic than gods or magic. As innovative as X-Men was, sales were sluggish after nearly 100 issues, and the title was rebooted with a more diverse cast of mutants from around the world. Giant-Size X-Men #1, released in 1975, introduced Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Banshee, and Thunderbird, the roster that would carry them into the 1980s. The X-Men technically made their first animated television appearance on The Marvel Superheroes in 1966, but the inconsistencies of the story and characters, combined with the low-quality production, barely met the standard of an appearance or television animation.
Yes, sir. 1 quart coming up.
A more accurate first appearance came in Marvel Productions' Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in 1982 and 1983. 1 episode introduced the original roster, plus Wolverine, and another brought in Storm, Colossus, Thunderbird, Nightcrawler, and Kitty Pryde, going by the name Sprite. Marvel Productions attempted to feature the X-Men in their own series with a pilot episode called Pride of the X-Men in 1989. It was never picked up, but did indicate that it was almost time for the X-Men to break through into the mainstream. Which they did just a few years later on Fox Kids in 1992. X-Men, the animated series, ran 76 episodes over 5 seasons through 1997. It's the series that finally captured what so many readers loved about the X-Men. It was a series that understood and embraced the drama of the characters, their powers, and the world they lived in, delivered weekly to television. It drove ratings, toy sales, comics, video games, and helped mainstream the brand, resulting in their leap to the big screen with the first X-Men movie in 2000. One of the writers on X-Men, the animated series, was Bob Skier. Skier was a lifelong fan of the X-Men who, like many lifelong fans of the X-Men, had already logged thousands of hours attempting to adapt the comics to film. He fell in love with the characters after reading Giant-Size X-Men #1 in 1975. His animation work began in the early 90s and included writing for Little Shop and Beetlejuice, two animated series adapted from existing works. After the release of the movies Batman in 1989 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1990, he wrote a comprehensive plan for adapting the X-Men to film. Teenage superheroes attending a special school, doing everything they can to lead normal lives while hiding the truth of who they are and what they can do, balancing their education with the constant battle against evil mutants trying to crush humanity. His X-Men treatment found its way into the hands of Avi Arad, the then head of Marvel Films, who liked what he read, but admitted that if they made an X-Men movie, it was going to be set much later in their history. It was going to be about the characters as established heroes, as adults. Through the 90s, Skier stacked his portfolio with everything from X-Men to Batman to Gargoyles, Battletech to Superman, Extreme Ghostbusters, Godzilla, and the adventures of Sam and Max Freelance Police. As the year 2000 approached and X-Men movie was officially put into production, Avi Arad called Skier back to duty after he recognized that while Skier's approach to the X-Men wasn't what they wanted for a movie, it was perfect for a new animated series. That said, for Skier it was still an intimidating prospect to follow the 90s X-Men cartoon, since he felt it had already accomplished what he would have wanted to do with an X-Men cartoon. On top of that, there was no coordination with the production of the movie, so where to even start?
Yes, sir. One court coming up.
That question answered itself. The key was going back to the beginning, telling the story through a different lens than the 90s series. Dig into the idea that this is all taking place at a school, as it had in the beginning, and let it build from there. As Skier explained in a 2020 interview, quote, "My whole vision for the show was, this is a show about a bunch of kids who are trying really hard not to be superheroes. The world is conspiring and pushing them in this position where they have no choice. We wanted to make the high school and the town a microcosm for the world. It isn't like they're traveling internationally and getting into giant battles. It all happens in the school." End quote. And that's exactly what Kids WB wanted. After the incredible success of Batman the Animated Series in the early 90s ushered in an era of darker, more grounded, more mature superhero shows, Warner Brothers were looking for something that was a lot lighter and geared to viewers who were a lot younger. Skier originally titled the series X-Men Children of the Atom, a term frequently used to describe mutants in Marvel Comics and echoing a book that Marvel was publishing at the time. But that name didn't test well with audiences because, as Skier explained in that same 2020 interview, quote, "I was told by our network, our audience doesn't like to be called children." Skier suggested X-Men Ground Zero, but that name didn't stick either, thankfully. It was renamed X-Men Evolution after Skier left development of the series. Despite his love for the X-Men, he was obligated to return to his work as writer and story editor on Hasbro's Action Man, which at the time was headed into a second season.
They are the next generation of X.
Come on, we can do this. That was awesome! Yeah. Check this out.
To be young again. Yeah, glad that's over. X-Men Evolution. Catch 2 episodes next Saturday beginning at 8, 7 Central and Pacific on Kids WB.
Kids WB and Marvel picked Boyd Kirkland to be the showrunner, a writer, director, producer, and artist who had credits going back to the 70s that included shows like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, G.I. Joe, Jem, Gummy Bears, Gargoyles, Batman the Animated Series, and more. He helped guide the series from concept to delivery, informing each stage of the production, which was a challenge during the first season as they worked to find their voice and established the audience. Kids WB was very careful and limited the degree of violence, the kinds of situations the characters could be put in, and how dark and mature it could get. But Kirkland admits that he thought that helped them make the show better by forcing them to focus on character. Saying in a 2018 interview, quote, "The good side of this, however, is that I had always wanted the show to be more character-driven than big action story-driven, so the restrictions actually helped play into that. The high-stakes epics we did later really became more meaningful and poignant because of how much time we had given the audience to get to know and empathize with the characters." Character was important to the series, as were original characters. Evan Daniels, aka Spike, was a mutant created for the series by Bob Skier and artist-director Stephen Gordon. Skier felt it was important not only for the series to have a unique voice with respect to the characters that were chosen for the team, but for who those characters represented. Skier knew from his time on X-Men in the 90s at Fox Kids that black teens were, as he put it, our most loyal core audience. And he believed that after 40 years of X-Men stories, it was unfair that a black teenager never made the team. Laura Kinney, aka X-23, was created by writers Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost explicitly to make Wolverine more relatable to the demographic the show was targeting. The Wolverine in the series is consistent with his standard portrayal, which means that he's a grumpy old man with no memory of his past and a penchant for leaving the team whenever he feels like it. They couldn't make him a teenage student at the school. X-23 is a clone of Wolverine that allowed Kyle and Yost to imagine what would happen if the character were the opposite of Wolverine, a young girl with complete awareness of all the horrible things she's done while under the control of very bad people. Kirkland was also responsible for developing the look of the series, updating the design of the characters and costumes, for which he gives full credit to the team of artists working on the show. Everything from the look of the blue and yellow uniforms to the shift back to Wolverine's more traditional brown costume. While the producers working on the X-Men movie couldn't share any specifics about what was happening behind the scenes, Avi Arad did make a point to provide some guidance to Kirkland and his team as to how they could style Wolverine's hair and what Xavier's wheelchair could look like. As the series advanced into seasons 2 and 3 after the first movie was released, some design changes were made to bring the two a little closer together, although Warner Brothers was adamant that there was no way Evolution was going to depict Mystique in her fully nude form as seen in the movie. X-Men Evolution was canceled after 52 episodes over 4 seasons, which is an eternity in the lifespan of the age group they were targeting. Not only did those kids change, but television in general changed. In the early 2000s, cable was taking over as the primary driver of kids' entertainment and afternoon viewing. The juggernaut Nickelodeon was dominating, and afternoon programming blocks like Fox Kids and Kids WB were on the way out as networks put that money and those time slots towards other things. Skier again, quote, "If you look at the kind of shows they replaced X-Men with, you get a sense that it was a time for the network to move on to a different kind of show. I don't think it was a lack of faith in the series. I think it was more of a business aesthetic kind of decision," end quote. Very early, very loose plans were suggested by the writers just in case the series was picked up for a 5th season. After having already dealt with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and the rise and return of Apocalypse, the X-Men could potentially have been confronted with an adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga, the arrival of the Shi'ar Empire, Mr. Sinister, Cable, Bishop,
dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Marvel Comics published an X-Men Evolution comic series that ran 9 issues from 2001 to 2002, a complement to the television series that never found its audience and was canceled before issue 10 could be produced, which would have introduced Mr. Sinister. All 9 issues were reprinted in 2020 as part of the 20th Anniversary Collected Edition. We got those hilarious new whoopee cushion shoes you invented. Come on in, guys! I shouldn't have said that mid-show. Don't put that in the video. I don't want anybody to steal our idea. Toy Biz released a line of toys in 2001, action figures of Wolverine, Spike, Storm, Cyclops, Sabretooth, Toad, Nightcrawler, Juggernaut, Magneto, and more. You could also get Wolverine on a motorcycle or as a deluxe figure with cloth goods, outfits, and giant-sized talkback mutants. Taco Bell and Burger King each had Evolution Kids Meal Premiums. X-Men Evolution Season 1 was released on DVD in 2003, Season 2 followed in 2004, Season 3 in 2006, and that's it. Season 4 and the complete series have yet to be released. However, the entire series is available to stream via Disney Plus and is available for rent or purchase on most streaming services. In 2004, the year after X-Men Evolution ended, X-23 made her first appearance in the Marvel Universe proper. Issue 3 of the series, NYX, introduced her powers, her trauma, her toe blades, but not her full backstory. Since then, she's made multiple appearances throughout the Marvel Universe and even took on the mantle of Wolverine officially in 2015. She was played by Daphne Keane in the movie Logan in 2017. The internet rumor mill suggests that Keane will reprise the role in the upcoming movie Deadpool 3, but I suggest not believing anything until you see it with your own eyes and not listening to them ever about anything. Spike hasn't been so fortunate. It's likely that Marvel wasn't that interested in finding a place for a character with powers that were so similar to Marrow, who had been a regular in the books since 1995. There was a character named Darian Elliott instead of Evan Daniels. He spelled his name Spike with an I instead of a Y. Despite the similarities, he wasn't technically the same guy and also died after 7 issues of X-Force in 2002. Another completely different character named Spike with an I appeared in X-Men The Last Stand in 2006. But who's to say what might happen in the future? 2025 is the 25th anniversary of the series, and if all goes well with Marvel, Deadpool 3, the integration of the X-Men into the multiverse, perhaps Spike with a Y will make an appearance. For now, he stands as one of the signature creations of an award-winning reimagination of a beloved franchise that found a way to adapt and survive into the future by going back to its origins, redefining mutants, the X-Men, and evolution. Sometimes I just write things. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, if you would like early access to the videos ad-free, as well as behind-the-scenes features, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and exclusive monthly podcast about the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy and let us know in the comments down below if you were a fan of X-Men Evolution, or just the X-Men, or just Evolution. I stand on my claim that Pride of the X-Men is still my favorite adaptation of the X-Men on television, but I am also big enough to admit that by the time Evolution came out, I was more than satisfied by the version of the X-Men in the movies. They were adults like me with adult problems and responsibilities and cool costumes and weird hair and an education from a school that didn't really apply to getting a job in the real world.